Okay guys, so I had a request to show the UEFI support in 5.10.9.1, which is the current long-term release, the LTS release. The next LTS release, 5.15, is due out very, very soon. So we'll have full UEFI support in 5.15. But right now, with the current LTS release of 5.10.9.1, let me show you what UEFI support that we do have and some of the problems that you may encounter. So I have one customer that's asking me specifically about SATA drives. Let me go on record by saying that we don't typically recommend SATA drives. We recommend that you do SCSI drives in the VMs because you'll get the best performance and the best support. I've got a link that I'll put in the description to a website that talks about the SCSI's performance and whatnot. And why that's important that you use SCSI over SATA within the VMs. The link will actually be to talking about ESXi on our platform, but the basic concepts are the same. So first of all, with the SATA, here I've got a Windows Server 2016 with a 100 gig SATA drive. This one's a Windows 2016 SCSI drive, same configuration. So if I just show you real quick. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and boot both of these up. I'll go ahead and power them on. While they're powering up, let me just show you the SATA one. So again, this is a Windows Server 2016. It's got 2 vCPUs and 16 gigs of RAM. I've got 2 CD-ROMs, one with the VirtIO drivers. The other CD-ROM has the Windows 2016 DVD. And then here you see that I've got a 100 gig SATA drive. And if I close that out and go over to, so if I go over to the 2016 SCSI one, you'll see that it is also a Windows Server 2016 with 2 vCPUs, 16 gigs of RAM. I just added a lot of RAM because I like for them to be faster. But again, same CD-ROMs, VirtIO driver, 2016 DVD, and this one also has a 100 gig drive, but it is a SCSI drive. So let's first of all take a look at the console for this VM, and you'll see that it's running 2016, and I can log on and so forth and so on. So you see that it's working, and then over here is a 2016 SCSI one, and if I launch the console of that, again, you can see, hey, it's working, everything's hunky-dory. You know, I can click that and go my log on and whatnot. I'm just going to go ahead and power them off. We don't have to, but I'm gonna do some cloning here, and I just want you to make sure that there's nothing going on behind the scenes here. So guess shut down on that one too, and they should shut down. Now to verify that they are UEFI, so that's one of the things that you'll see in 5.11 and later in the STS releases, and in 5.15 the LTS release. Is when you go into the VM settings in the web interface, you'll see down here that there's an option that's going to show you the BIOS option. So you can say, you know, standard legacy BIOS, or you can say UEFI, and you can change some configurations on some of those. So, but you don't have that in here. So the only way to verify that is I'm going to putty into one of our CVMs, and once I get in there, I'm going to go on the ACLI, and just to show you that we're looking at the same thing, I'm going to do a VM list, and you'll see that, you know, 2016 SATA, 2016 SCSI, and if I do the vm.get when 2016 SATA box, I get the configuration settings for that particular VM. And that VM has a UEFI boot. So you can say boot UEFI boot equals true. And if I do the same thing for the SCSI VM, you'll see that, you know, it also has the UEFI equals true. So that shows you that we have those couple of VMs. I'm going to put this off to the side for a second. I'm going to go ahead and clone this guy. I'm going to call it SATA-1. I'm not going to change any settings. I'm just going to hit save to show you that we can clone it. And then we'll go over here to the 2016 SCSI one, and we'll clone that one as well. We'll call that one -1 as well. I'm not going to change any settings, just going to clone it. And then I'm going to go ahead and boot them up, because I think that some folks have seen that when they power them on after cloning them, that the UEFI settings gets kind of messed up. And while those boot, I'm just going to come back over here to the PuTTY session again, and I'm going to look at SCSI-1, Win 2016 SCSI-1, and you'll see that if I scroll up, UEFI is still set to true, and if I do that same thing with SATA, you'll see that it also says UEFI boot equals true. So they did not lose their settings there when we cloned them. And if I go ahead and hit the console, you'll see that they're running just fine. And I can log on if I want to log on, so forth and so on. So close that one down, hit the SCSI-1, launch the console, same thing there. So I know that I've heard that, or someone's told me that they've had an issue where when they took one that was running and they cloned it, that it wouldn't boot. And that the only thing I can possibly think of there is that it lost the UEFI boot equals true setting. So you can, there's a command, and if you just go up to the portal and do a search for it, you'll find the command to modify that. I think if you just go to portal, here, I'll just show you. So if you go to the support portal, I think I'm still logged in. No, gotta log in. All right. There we go. When you get to the support portal, if you just do a search for, UEFI boot true, you'll see a couple of different things pop up. Now, the first top hit that I get is this Windows Server 2008 R2 in UEFI mode is not booting up. It's kind of the same. It's a little bit of a different article. If you scroll down, you'll see there's a couple other options, but if I click on that first one, this is a little bit of a different issue, but same result, that the machine won't boot. And in that article, you'll see here's the command that you run: VM update, give it the VM UUID, and then specify that you want to change it to UEFI boots equals true. And that's so if it loses its UEFI settings for whatever reason and goes back to a default BIOS, then you can go to that command and that'll fix it. But you can see that these two machines were working just fine. Now, the other thing that I've been told that is an issue that I wanted to show, I'm just going to go ahead and delete these two because we don't need them anymore. Delete. Is when I clone one of these, and let's say that I want to change the drive side. So let's say that the scenario is, hey, I've got this is my gold image. I've got it all set up and running and ready to go. I've got it, and I may even have it where you go in and do, clean it all up and get the VM name, set to default, whatever you want it to be, and things set to DHCP and all those kind of things, and maybe even gone in and done the out-of-box experience that you can do with the Windows machines, whatever, but that's your gold image. And let's say that your gold image is, by default, is a 100 gig disk, like we showed you before, but in your clone, what you wanted to do is you wanted to clone it, and in the process of cloning it, let's say that, in addition to that 100 gig, you need a little more disk space. So in addition to cloning it, you're also going to, I'm going to clone it real quick. You're going to go ahead and change those drives to be a little bit larger. So we're going to do that for both the SATA and the SCSI. Again, we're going to use the -1. And we'll come back up here to the SATA one here, and I'm going to change it. So let's update that, and we want to change. Oops, we want to change the drive size to 200. Update. Save it. So now you'll see that we have a 200 gig drive as opposed to the 100 gig drive. Let's do the same thing to the SCSI. Let's update that. 200 gig. Update. And we'll save it. Now, the thing is that we've got, here's the two 200 gig drives. Here's the 100 gig. that we've specified. So let's start with the SATA. And I think what you're going to find is that when we power it on, I'm just going to click off and click back on just to update the launch console rather than waiting for the refresh. You'll see that it won't boot, and it's trying to boot. It was trying to boot to the CD-ROM that I had. That was the press any key to boot. And so what you see is that we get the failed to boot from UEFI, and then if you go in and look at the UEFI shell, let's go F2. Even if we go into the boot manager and we specify, hey, I want to boot up to one of these guys, it doesn't work. I've got to dig into it and find out why, but my assumption is that by adding that additional 100 gig, the UEFI gets confused as to, okay, which one of these do I actually have my boot partition on? So which one of these do I boot up to? So it messes with the UEFI. Now, that's with SATA. Now, what I could do to fix it is I could boot up to the CD-ROM, and then we could do a repair, or we can go in and modify the UEFI. So, but if I go and close that out and I look at the SCSI one that I did, click off, and I'll launch the console on that one, what you'll find is that with the SCSI one, it works just fine. All the more reason for us to stick by our recommendation that in the VMs that you use SCSI drives, because if you'll notice, and I'm going to go ahead and log into this one just to show you how we would get that additional space. I think this is my password. Yep. And then we'll wait for Server Manager to boot. I think I've got Server Manager set to come on. While we're waiting for that, I'll go ahead and pull up this. And if you look at this particular machine, you'll see it still shows a 100 gig drive. There's Server Manager in the background. Let's go to Tools, Computer Management. And there's Computer Management. I'm going to close out of Server Manager just to clean it up. And then we'll drag this down to where you can kind of see it. And then if I go to Disk Management, what you're going to find is you're going to have the Windows boot partition, whatnot, their UEFI stuff. And then we've also got the 100 gig and 100 gig. And all I do is I just say extend volume. Let it pull that 100 gig in there, hit next, hit finish, it changes it to 200 gig, come over here, right click, hit refresh, and it should change to 200 gig. So as you can see that with the SATA drives, it causes an issue, UEFI gets confused, and we'd have to go in and do a repair on that. But with the SCSI drives, it works just fine. As for the cloning, and it not booting on clone, I'd have to look at that particular VM and find out what's wrong with that particular VM. So trick here is that we do have some UEFI support in the prior to 5.11 STS release. Not full UEFI support, just part of it. And then it's also not supported in the, or not configured yet in the UI. You have to come over into the ACLI to do some of the functions that you want to do on it. But as you can see, you can build VMs and you can support the extending of those volumes on those VMs if you use SCSI drives. Again, in 5.15, you'll see full UEFI support. And if I log in over here, let's pull up another window just very briefly. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to my other cluster that is running 5. I think this one is running 5.15 or 5.16.1. Let's see. That's it. And of course, it's not licensed, so I get that. And I've got Prism Central. So let me go over to here just because I want to see. In this particular version, we're running 5.16.1, and if I look at any of my VMs, I think my VMs, I think I've got one over here. Yeah, one of these is running UEFI. So if I hit update on that, what you'll see is that in here we have the UEFI support, so you'll be able to pick whether you want legacy BIOS or UEFI, and those are some other UEFI functions that are supported as well. So that's coming in 5.15 LTS release. It's currently all the way up in 5.16.1, which is an STS release. And if you have any questions, just hit me up.